The world's full of doe-eyed games, all pulling at your sleeve and demanding your attention. But you're busy, and you want to separate the wheat from the Leisure Suit Larrys. That's where we come in. Here are the very best PC games to play right now. Overwatch is the shooter where it's always high noon, and you can never have too many snipers. An objective-led online brawl for people who got bored of teabagging corpses 3 CODs ago and fancy something a bit more collaborative. It's chirpy, colourful, and features characters inspired by Asian animation, because of course it is. This is 2016 and these things are apparently the law now. Never mind, what we're saying is Blizzard are onto something here. The interplay between all those heroes going at it never gets old. Bastion mowing down a line of flimsy Genjis and Mercies, Reinhardt leading a dramatic last-second charge to the payload with his shield, Zenyatta doing whatever it is Zenyatta does well. Every hero is well balanced, and their relative strengths and weaknesses make each match an unpredictable jamboree of confusingly cheerful killing.
Before the Dark Souls games came along, if you wanted a punishing combat experience with no hand-holding, you had to just go up to mean-looking people in bars and slip a bollock in their pint. It's good news for both PC gaming and our medical bills that Dark Souls 3 scratches that itch better than ever before. You know what to expect by now. A story that won't tell itself, items that won't reveal their function, a roll button you won't stop hitting, and bosses who won't stop laughing at you. But we love it, don't we? No other game dares to treat us with this much respect, or challenges us to overcome what at first feel less like insurmountable odds and more like practical jokes.
League of Legends is famous for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's the most popular PC game on the planet, and secondly, it's the most perplexing to outsiders. Getting ganked by junglers used to be something that happened in a nightclub car park. Now it's big esports business enjoyed by people in their tens of millions. It all started as a map for Warcraft 3 called Defense of the Ancients. A map that created the whole MOBA genre and all its conventions, as it happens. Lanes, minions, towers and last hits, they all started here. But it wasn't until 2009 when Riot released LoL that those tropes became the stuff of international gaming phenomenon. These days, LoL has a roster of champions well into 3 figures and a competitive scene that pulls in stadiums full of fans. But it isn't too famous to entertain the little people too. If you haven't tried it yet, your first game will be a revelation.
Elite Dangerous features a 1-to-1 scale replica of our entire Milky Way to explore. Hang on, are you still here? A 1-to-1 scale replica of our entire Milky... Do you know what? Forget it. If you're not impressed by that, fine. It's a Milky Way-sized space that you can explore solo or with others, and those others have also created a living, breathing economy based on mining and trade, which is endlessly complex. Rulers rise and fall, wars are waged, markets soar and crash, all dependent on the player population and how they choose to interact. But let's dial it back a bit. It's one of the most enjoyable space sims to just cruise around in, pulling off stomach-churning manoeuvres and elaborate docking procedures. It looks gorgeous too, which is saying something when you're talking about a game made of 99% black emptiness.
When the use of automobiles was outlawed from professional soccer in the 1980s, it looked as though cars and balls were never to meet again on the pitch. Thank goodness Rocket League came along and reunited them. Look how happy they are to be together again. Ah, that's it. Jump for joy, noble chariots. Here are the basic rules. 2 teams of cars, 2 goals, 1 ball. That about covers it actually. You don't get people honking about the meta in Rocket League because it's all about pick up and play appeal. Of course, the more you pick up and play, the more you develop your ability to perform frankly absurd manoeuvres on the pitch. Cars doing diving headers and front flip saves are routine happenings here.
PC gamers were a bit starved for good old-fashioned immersive sims in 2011. Then Dishonored came along and reminded us why we still bang on about Thief and Deus Ex to strangers on public transport. After all, there are games that tell you can go about a mission in different ways, and then there are the ones that actually deliver on that promise with puzzle box levels and a toolset of abilities you actively miss in other games. Go on, name a title that wouldn't be improved by Dishonored's blink. We're waiting. It's not a merciless exercise in mechanical craftsmanship though. There's such a sense of atmosphere in Dunwall that you can really believe in its steampunk world. And once you start believing you're there, the sneaking suddenly feels more tense. Everything you do feels like it has consequences. In other words, put that spring razor away, you lunatic.
Card games meet World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, this is card games. I think the two of you will get along famously. Oh, you've already sorted off together, holding hands and garnering millions of players in your wake. Rude. Hearthstone's incredibly simple on the surface, so much so that you can win a few games with a beginner deck in a matter of minutes, but it's the possibilities with its custom decks and the hunt for the perfect and unbeatable strategy that will make your eyes soar with persistent play. Blizzard's regular content drops keep the CCG monster well fed, but it's the simple and compulsive pleasure of collecting things and beating internet strangers that keeps Hearthstone so close to the heart of PC gaming.
Let's go full Patrick Bateman for a second here. I'm a really bad person. I've decided it's cheaper to buy new rookies than incendiary grenades, so if you go into battle for me, you'll have nothing down your sleeve. Just fresh feces down your trouser leg. Think you could do better? Then you haven't been tested yet. You've never had to let a snake lady give your soldier a big death hug to save the sniper. XCOM 2 is full of choices like these. It'll turn you cold enough to take back Earth, but you might not like what you see in the mirror.
Show us someone who hasn't wanted to build a spaceship, and we'll show you a liar with a die-cast model hidden under their bed. Everyone wants to be a NASA boffin, but not everyone has the, decades of academic dedication and expertise. For us, Kerbal Space Program is a way to live that dream. Those cute-as-a-button passengers disguise a fearsomely deep simulation of Newtonian physics that doesn't care how funny your phallic rocket looks. If it isn't physically sound, it ain't leaving the ground. Luckily, it's actually a lot of fun to sit and watch things not leave the ground too. There it goes. You can do it. Oh, our mistake. If you master the art of getting airborne, space travel and planetary excursions await you. Landing on the moon and then re-entering Earth's atmosphere is one of PC gaming's greatest challenges, but the sense of achievement is like no other.
If you'd have come up to us a few years ago and told us that someone would make a genuinely great game based on Ridley Scott's Alien, we'd have laughed and laughed, ruffling your hair like the nincompoop we wrongly assumed you theoretically were. But then Creative Assembly came along. They didn't just make a great Alien game, they made a great one. Alien Isolation succeeds not just as a survival horror stealthy type game, but also as an exercise in environmental storytelling, as well as a virtual tour of 70s horror sci-fi movie sets. The manual save system isn't for everyone, but the tension it creates is unique.
Nobody walks in LA, and GTA 5 explains why. Wander down the sidewalk on a sunny afternoon in Rockstar's Los Angeles, and you'll get ragdolled to death by a psychopath in a sports car. If it's any consolation, they're having the time of their lives. This is GTA's greatest city to date. Rockstar can't help but deface every street and shop sign with Willy and bum jokes, but even that can't stop Los Santos feeling like the realest place in all of video games. On top of that, it not only looks like Hollywood, but feels like it too when you're staging heists that would put the Italian job to shame.
There's a reason World of Warcraft has been a cultural phenomenon for the last decade. They don't make South Park episodes about just any game, The plain truth is, before WoW, people were still calling them MMORPGs, and no one had the faintest idea what that meant. The principles of tanking, raids, and slaying boar after boar after boar after boar that form the bedrock of the genre all began here. Over 12 million subscribers joined the WoW fold at its peak, and it's still home to millions today, over a decade after launching. Numerous expansions from Blizzard have changed the face of the game in myriad ways since 2004, and that's helped to keep the diehards entertained and the uninitiated curious. Despite all the new content though, WoW has always been the quintessential MMO experience.
Counter-Strike has been around as long as there's been recorded history. Version 0.1 was discovered just underneath the Rosetta Stone, and humans have been defusing bombs and herding hostages through Dust 2 and Office since the Bronze Age. It's as essential to PC gaming as right-clicking or the colour beige. CSGO is the latest incarnation, a meeting place of old weapons, maps and characters with scary new stuff like better spectator functionality, crates and weapon skins. And contrary to popular belief, it's still possible to have fun even at entry level. Just because it's home to one of the most competitive esports scenes in gaming doesn't mean you can't find a server full of less than superhuman players to no scope.
No quest is ever what it seems in The Witcher 3. If somebody sends you to kill the rats in the basement, expect that the basement is a fringe territory disputed by Redania. or that the rats are animorphed ambassadors from Nilfgaard. At the very least, they'll be harmless magical mice who you'll have a nice long chat with. This is why CD Projekt Red are brilliant. There's always a twist in the tale. I said there's always a twist in the tale with the and the rat. Just a spot of rodent humour for you there.
Forget Minecraft the cultural giant for a minute. Remember Minecraft the game? Where 100 survival sims on Steam now tell us to eke out an existence, Minecraft actually gave us reason to. Pristine new oceans and our own skylines just waiting for towers and lake houses. Notch had experimented with creation tools before in Worm Online, but here was something different and immediate. In Minecraft, you could pop a rock out of place as quickly as you could think to do it, and since everything was built from those cubes, there was no need for quantity surveyors. Minecraft Survival Mode in particular is a brilliant game about braving the frontier, pushing back the dark and finding home.
Haters gonna hate, of course, but Diablo 3 really is very good at what it does. If you want the comfort blanket of isometric hack and slash play without the reams of NPC chatter that usually accompany it, this is your guy. There's a purity to it that's irresistible. Well, that and all the shiny things that fall out of the corpses when you hit them hard enough. What you learn after the first playthrough of Diablo 3 is that you've excavated the iceberg's tip. Many more hours and difficulty levels await you if you're serious about those priceless legendary booties. And there's co-op play too. If there's anything better than clicking on bloated corpses until they explode in a miasma of worms, it's doing it as a duo.
Jonathan Blow took the moveset of Mario and spliced it into a puzzle game designed to make you feel smart for a change. Braid is never patronising or hand-holding. Instead, it gives you one toy, a rewind button, and pushes you to think of new ways to use it or thumbing your nose at previously established rules. Soon enough, you'll be marvelling at the unexplored corners of your own squidgy brain. Wait, what's that noise? Oh, it's the sound of you in the future doing a celebratory tap dance in your clever clogs.
Bethesda strike us as the sort of single-minded individuals who could just as happily spend their lives carving spoons out of wood. But they dedicated years to handcrafting Skyrim's snowy paradise instead, and Cutlery's loss is our gain. The studio stuffed quests into every nook and cranny of this vaguely Scandinavian country, scripting little stories about lost swords and haunted houses. And they filled the space in between with organic happenings. A memorable encounter might be a chance meeting with mammoths or a random run-in with soldiers. There's also a civil war going on, of course, and a nasty infestation of dragons. But as always in the Elder Scrolls, you've got the right to turn around and potter off somewhere a bit quieter. All that bombast is optional.
To build a city at the bottom of the sea. Insanity.
But where else could we shoot splices in a period setting? There was nothing like Bioshock when it arrived a decade ago, and I'm sorry to report that we still haven't beaten that first descent into Rapture now. The textures on that whale do look a bit shabby, but Irrational can't be beaten on theatrical flair or shoehorning ideas into shooters. There are a few iconic monsters here, but the Big Daddy is the most important fish in the tank. He crashes through Rapture, setting off alarms and causing factions to collide. A bit like you, really.
There are lots of games that want you to care about their characters, but not that many that ask you to care for just one. The Walking Dead grants you unofficial custody of Clementine, a sweet young girl in a world on fire. Whenever you make a tough decision, you know she's watching, and that can be excruciating. You can't preserve her childhood in a zombie apocalypse, but do you really need to teach a 9-year-old how to shoot a person's face off? The Walking Dead might play like a point-and-click adventure, but ultimately it's a daddy simulator. Happy Father's Day! The world's ended.
The Total War formula had a bit of a wobble back there, if we're being honest. The series seemed to lose focus in Rome 2's campaign, but with Attila it gained a new urgency. We're talking about the last days of the ancient world here, with the Roman Empire split into two and the Huns bearing down on everyone. It's all very apocalyptic, nobody is safe and no border is impenetrable. Displaced tribes wander the map, and that means there's always someone to fight. And isn't that what we all want really? Someone to fight? Meet me in Carthage in 10 minutes, if you want a beating.
Imagine playing a fever dream version of Baldur's Gate where all the voice actors have been instructed to deliver their lines like they're in a pantomime, and chucking barrels of water around is an essential part of combat. Now go and play Divinity Original Sin. Similar, aren't they? Good, that was all we were getting at, really. It's a piece of outsider art in a way. Although Belgian studio Larian have been making RPGs for over a decade, they don't seem interested in ticking the usual gloomy world and serious tone boxes. It's all about solving riddles and thinking outside the box, and as such it feels completely separate from its contemporaries in the isometric questing realm. Many's the game that will let you assemble a party of heroes, of course, but only Divinity has squabbles between those party members that you can resolve with a game of rock, paper, scissors. Despite the kids' party atmosphere, it can be hard as nails if you stumble into the wrong area too early. Think of it like Dark Souls, but with ice cream and jelly.
Look, everyone knows by now that the cake was a lie. If you didn't find out yourself, you read it on a t-shirt. But it doesn't matter that so much of Portal has been memeified. Actually going back and playing it is like hearing, I don't know, Hamlet's To Be or Not To Be in context. You suddenly remember what all the fuss was about. It's almost like Half-Life was stripped back to its frame, leaving just a set of rooms with a problem to solve. On top of that, Valve threw in GLaDOS, an AI more alive than practically any human character you might care to name. Oh, hang on. I bet you just said Alex Vance, didn't you? Ugh, you win.
More than just a cure for the SimCity blues, Skylines is the most impressive city builder of the last decade. Massive, detailed and uncramped, it gave prospective planners everything they could possibly want. Its greatest strength came after launch though. Check the Steam Workshop page and you'll find piles of mods tall enough to scrape the sky. They offer pretty much anything, entirely new maps or specific fixes to meet your nerdy road network needs. There are official expansions too, which means Cities now has a day and night cycle, plus space for hotels, bars and tourist attractions. You know, nighttimey stuff.
Her story is an enigma, wrapped in a mystery, inside a knackered old computer system. You've got to rifle through hundreds of clips from police interviews and, well, watch them all. By the end, you'll have hopefully solved a man's murder. The virtual desktop you're operating isn't the only archaic thing about Her Story. This oddly modern FMV game brings back point-and-click style keywords as well. The only way to find the clues you're looking for is to remember important words or phrases and search for them in the database to build up a picture of events. Oh, and at no point are you told if the theory you've come up with is actually right or wrong. But even if you are wrong, at least you've come up with a nice story. Although that's probably not much consolation to the man's wife.
So concludes our list of the best and brightest in PC gaming. Sorry big rigs, it just wasn't going to happen. Let us know which games we missed in the comments below. We can take it.